retired research chemist and educator, born and raised in the Ohio Valley, wherever that is. Volunteers with grassroots groups to educate and inform people of the harms from fracking, plastics, and false solutions to climate change, especially blue hydrogen. She is a member of environmental groups in Ohio, including Faith Communities Together, otherwise known as FACT Ohio, Save Ohio Parks, and the Mid-Ohio Valley Climate Action. So it's all yours.
Probably don't need this microphone because I got a big mouth because I used to teach. Okay, so I'll just tell you a little bit of the irony of my husband and I, our journey through our married life. Back in 1991, 92, we found out that they were building an incinerator in East Liverpool, Ohio. So we got involved in that fight because we lived in Toronto, Ohio, which was 17 air miles from the incinerator. And when we found out that no matter what we did, protest, hunger strikes, we weren't going to stop that incinerator because that incinerator was waiting for a lot of different facilities to unload their hazardous waste, including military facilities. So that was going to be a go, no matter what we did. So we decided, we moved to Iowa for a year and a half, but I was born and raised in the Ohio River Valley, and I can't stand not being in trees and hills. So I convinced him to move back, and we built our eco-log home behind Tappan Lake. And everything was fine until about 2012. And then fracking came to that region, and I ended up quitting my job because it became a full-time job, just trying to reach out to communities and educate people. And I know previous speakers have talked about how these companies come in, just like WTI came into East Liverpool and told the people there it was just going to be, oh, that's just steam and CO2 coming out of their smokestacks. And we said, well, if the permit has 4 tons of lead permitted per year, how can that just be steam and CO2? Well, they're burning lead paints, and you can't, lead is an element. You can't go any further than that. So we knew that those were all a bunch of lies that the company was saying to get the people to get behind them. And that incinerator is still burning today. They never successfully passed their trial burn. And, 35 people, including Terry Swearingen, who got the Goldman Environmental Award in '91, spoke against that plant. And we were sued. It was the largest slap suit at the time in the history of the United States, $1 million each to shut our mouths. And it did for a while, and a lot of people, including my sister and her husband, they won't get involved in environmental issues anymore. But when fracking came into the area, we started to see what it was doing to the towns and the hillsides, and the compressor stations, the pipelines, the fracking pads, the injection wells. I mean, you just can't keep your mouth shut. I mean, at least I can't keep my mouth shut. So I just, we had to draw the line in the sand and talk about it. But, today in Ohio, and somebody else mentioned the laws that are there to protect the fossil fuel industry. There's so many of them, including the one that will have us arrested as felons if we protest on critical infrastructure.
SB 33, sponsored by Michael Ruley.
Yeah, that's a good point to point out. Yes, one of his little bills. I mean, and then, both my granddaughters go to Ohio University, and they had the bag ban down there where plastic bags were banned, and now they're suing the city of Athens to reverse that bag ban. So they're going to force them to give out plastic bags, even though the city voted that they didn't want to give out plastic bags. So this is the kind of shenanigans that goes on in the state. So I'm going to talk a little bit about pyrolysis, but also some other things that are coming to a town near you soon. Okay, next slide. Okay, so these are the major problems with plastics. You can't make a plastic without a fossil fuel. And years ago, way back down the timeline, even in the early 1900s, they did use coal for some types of plastics. The thing that they do very well is also their downfall. They don't break down, so they'll never decompose. They'll always be with us. They require toxic chemicals. And I have a list that I'll show you in a minute here, just about all the toxic chemicals. And I got this book, if you're really wanting to be depressed, A Poison Like No Other. I heard this, the author, Matt Simon, and I believe he's from England, on a webinar a couple of years ago when this first came out. But this is all about the different compounds that are in plastics.